Hi everyone, this is Jules. So I don't know if you've seen already, but I posted a video sharing what's in my basket. And in this video, I shared with you guys all kinds of dies, stamps, and embossing folders that I had purchased over the last several months, probably last year and a half. I had forgotten what I had purchased. So I wanted to do a video and share with you guys everything that was in there, where I possibly bought it, and about maybe the price point of each of them if I could remember. But my next task after this was to not put them back in that basket, but to get them completely organized in envelopes and in nice containers. So that's the video I'm sharing with you guys today. So stay tuned for that. So I didn't want to be overwhelmed by all of it, but I just did one basket at a time and I did little stacks at a time. So I pulled out my P-Touch labeler and I just started to type in the titles, sometimes some of the brands, and started to print them out. And I cut out these little labels so that I can get them ready for the envelopes. And what I should have done, and I didn't do this until later, was type it in, print, leave it on the machine, type it out, print, leave it on the machine so I can have one long strip. But I learned. So I didn't know what I was going to put them in until I started to pull them out one by one. And it just made it easier for me that way. So let me share with you guys the envelopes. These are the envelopes that I used for my die storage. I'm going to take these out so that I can show you guys exactly what I used. So for my CD envelopes, which I do like, are from Simon Says Stamp. They're not super thick, but they're not as thin as Avery Elle's. The Avery Elle's I used for a while, and I don't like how flimsy they feel. They're just a little bit thicker than the actual packaging, and I'm not really feeling that. A little thinner than the CD ones. So there's a flap, and you can tuck them in, but there's still a chance that something can slip out. And I do like these. For now, they are pretty thick. Well, they're thicker than the Avery Elle and thicker than the packaging. Not as thick as the Sizzix ones and the scrapbook.com ones that I have. I ended up buying, because I thought I was going to need more, the 5-pack from, is this 5-pack or 4-pack? It's a 5-pack from scrapbook.com. It is the same size as the CD ones. They are just a lot thicker. A lot thicker. These are the exact same material that that the Sizzix dies come in. So they do have, and the exact same flap. It's got the 2 slits and then the flap that you can slide in to lock. So I do like these, and I will be using these when I need more, but I do still have some of the Simon Says Stamp, probably about a dozen maybe left, and they come in a pack of 25. When I buy some Sizzix dies, they already come in, like this one, they already come in a envelope, which I like. This is the material that I like. What I do not like are the buttons. I would prefer them to be the slits, because these take up room in the containers and it'll create a bulge. When you have about 10 or 12 of these put together, they'll just start to not sit flush against each other because this thing is in the way. So I did find at scrapbook.com, I found these Sizzix envelopes. This is what's in that package. And these are 5 1/4 by 6.5 inches. So I ended up using these on a lot of my Sizzix dies, which look like this. Actually, this one is a recycled package. I don't remember which one came in here. But it was just small pieces that I ended up transferring it to the CD envelope size. And then the ones that would fit here, like this one here, it's just one piece and I wanted to keep the packaging with it. But this one is a recycled one. And this particular die die envelope is the exact same size as these. Because I liked the size, I like the style. I like that when they're all up against each other, they stay flush up against each other and there's nothing bulging. And this is just a sample. I ended up using a magnetic sheet and a vent cover actually. And then I put some spellbinders on there, but this is that same packaging. And I did buy, there's probably 2, I think I have like 2 of these. dies that I bought. It's the set came in this envelope. And I loved the size of this envelope, and I cannot find this size of this envelope that Sizzix has. So this comes in the exact same style. It looks like a regular envelope with the slits just like those. And so for my Coco and Reno dies, and for a few other larger dies that I have, like I have some spellbinders that are super long. So the closest thing that I came to this particular size, and let me share the dimensions, 6 1/4 by 9. And this was perfect for my baskets that I have. And I'm going to bring the baskets to you so you can see them. And then I'll show you a little bit of the process that I had taken to get them all organized. I took everything out and relabeled all of my envelopes. But the closest thing that I came to that are these. And these are from Amazon. These are not as thick as these, but they are a little bit thicker than my CD ones, than the Simon Says Stamp ones. And I wanted to make sure to see if I can, you know, kind of help with getting an idea of the thickness, of the strength of these, or durability of these. So kind of hearing it kind of helps a little bit. It's got 2 slits. And I cannot put both slits in at the same time. I don't know what's wrong with me. But I got these from Amazon, and I'll put the price up because I can't remember at the top of my head. I put so many in my cart, and I ended up just deleting some and just sticking with this one. But these are 5.9 inches by 9.9 inches, so almost 6 by 10. These helped with a lot of my bigger dies and my spellbinders ones. So, like the spellbinders, this is what I packaged in that envelope. And I did keep the packaging on the back side because I like the packaging. I like that it has the name on it. I like that it shows the actual shape, even though you can see it, but still, it kind of helps to have that. And here's another one that had 3 borders on it. So I think this is like, it's a really nice way to organize your dies. I know people put them in like binders, which is, you know, it's fine. It just depends on what your studio allows and what it is that you're more comfortable with. I liked the fact of that I didn't have to buy any additional containers, so I kept my baskets and repurposed those. I ended up creating a liner for them so that they stand nice and even, because as you know, some of the weaved baskets, because they're weaved, they're very bumpy on the bottom. So having these line up in the basket kind of creates a little wobbliness, like they're like off. They're not, you can tell that they're not sitting on a flat, something flat that keeps them upright and nice and straight. And so because of the width and the depth, I created something that was fitting to the dies that I was going to fit in my baskets. So I created a box in there that would accommodate this width, and some that would accommodate this one, and I try to maximize that width of the basket. But I'm able to have a lot of room there so that I can, you know, line up quite a bit of the long ones in that way. So I'll show you some clips and talk with you a little bit about what I did, my process, and the process video just kind of shows you me putting things together. So I'm going to move this out of the way, and then I'll show you one of the baskets that I made. This is one of my baskets. This is the ones that I hold my Coco and Reno dies. And as I was saying, the divider, I do put my labels on the left, and then on the dividers, and then on the envelopes I put them on the right. But I have them all sitting here, and there's enough room for me to be able to package extra ones when they come, because I'm on their subscription list, so I get them monthly. So this is the box that I created. Now this one was hard to put in. I think I just made it too tight. I should have just left maybe another 1/4 inch, and it would have slid in a little bit easier. But this is the box. My cabinet holds 5 of these, and so I slide them in just as you see here, just like this. So this is the largest one that I've made. And this one was the very first one that I made, the one for the CD envelopes. The box is just wide enough to hold these where they won't be slamming around. They were pretty messy. So now I don't have a basket of messy dies, like packs of dies that I have to put away. They are all now labeled and in an envelope and put away in a box. And then the Sizzix envelopes, they're larger dies. I also label them kind of the same as what I have with this one. So what I did is pretty much the same thing as I did with the CD ones, is I created a box that was just a little bit more wider, I think by another 1/2 inch, and created a box that holds the Sizzix envelopes because they are larger or wider, but they all pretty much fit like nice in a nice row. They look even, and it doesn't look like it's dancing around in the basket. The only thing is that, yeah, they're still a little bit heavy, but not as heavy as I was going to have them. Anyhow, just wanted to share how I am organizing my dies, how I got them all ready for my baskets, and then what I had to do to my baskets to be able to still use them and not have to spend another $40 to $60 for new containers, because I was not about to do that. So if you guys already have some containers that you want to use because you like how pretty they are or whatever, and you don't want to go and spend money on extra containers, this is another option. I did find a video by Corinne's Creations, and she had a video that saved me. I was completely blank and I could not remember how to put a box together. And I followed pretty much the exact same thing that she did in her video, and except for a couple of differences. So you can do this with any kind of container that you need some sort of evenness or to fit some specific things in there. In my embossing folders that I had as well, I created a liner for another basket and put all the embossing folders, labeled them. I'll show you a little video clip there. I labeled all of them. I unpackaged all of them, and they all fit in one basket. This is just an idea that I had, and hopefully it's something that can help you out if you wanted to do the same thing. So, all right, you guys, so I'm just going to go ahead and talk you through the process video of me putting them together. And I just want to say thank you to Corinne for your video. So I'll link her video down below, and you guys go check her out. Thanks again, you guys, and I'll start rolling the process video here. All right, so I am just putting them, the labels up on the top right, and I'm just getting some envelopes prepped here for some of their dies. Now for every single package, pretty much, I did use magnetic sheets. Like here are the Oriental Trading Company sheets that I had for a long time. I cut those up and used all of those, but I don't really like the magnetic pull or the magnetic strength of those. It tends to still make some of the smaller dies slip around. So sometimes I had to go back in the envelopes and adjust them. There are some other ones that I use that I buy from Lowe's, and I'll share those here in just a little bit. But what I do like to do with these are going in the Sizzix dies. But the dies that have sentiment titles, I do like to print those out in labels and have them placed on the bottom left side of the envelopes. It just makes it easier for me to pull out and read what's on there versus me trying to figure out what the die says, because as you know, the dies will be backwards when you're trying to read it. And I could have kept that package, yes, but I did not for some of these, and that was my mistake. That's a tip though. And then too, you can kind of see what the dies look like when they're cut out. So here I'm just putting all of the titles on the envelopes, and it does look a little busy, but you won't be able to tell once you have them placed in your container. Now all of the magnetic sheets really do cut very well on the guillotine cutter. It cuts like butter. So if you don't have one, it's a good idea to have one, especially if you cut other thick things like chipboard, which I did here for this project. So this die, I just took it apart and put them on a small magnetic sheet for an envelope, but I ended up putting it on the CD envelope and it was really too small for it, so I had to remove the label and put it on a Sizzix envelope, which is fine afterwards. So I had some done. So the magnetic sheets, the vent covers that I got from Lowe's, they come in a 3-pack and they are an 8-inch by 15-inch, which was perfect. The magnetic strength was so much better. They held on really well. So I left them at 8 inches wide and just cut them at 5 inches, and there was no scraps left. And they fit perfectly in the larger Amazon envelopes. So the Spellbinders dies fit perfectly in there. I was able to fit them all on one sheet, didn't have to put any on the back side. Oh, that's another thing. Whenever there was an extra die or two, I just stuck it on the back side of the magnetic sheet on the same package in the same envelope, so that was awesome that I didn't have to cut out another sheet to set inside the envelope. They're double-sided magnetic strength. I like it. So I did do some stamp and die sets together. The smaller ones that I'm showing here, it just fit perfectly in the CD envelopes. I put the die in the front, and then I tucked in the stamp on the back, and I labeled that they were a stamp and die set. So I had about 5 or 6 of these, so I just packaged them the exact same way. Now this is the IKEA box that I was talking about. It's a great size, and it fit a lot of the dies and the envelopes and everything. But once I started to transfer them in there and filling up that bucket, it just became super, super heavy. And I'm sharing here the dividers that are 5x6 that I cut, and I would label them on the top left of the divider. See, they're starting to look really nice and neat. And not all of them had magnetic sheets in it, but it was pretty heavy. So I decided, you know what, I really need to just do something with my baskets. I cannot be spending more money to try and get them all organized. So what I did was I took measurements of my basket. The inside was 7.5 wide by 11.5 deep and 5.25 inches tall. Then I would jot down the sizes of the dividers and the sizes of the envelopes that I would be using per box. And they did all vary, of course. But once I had the measurements, then I could move forward and start pulling out some materials. So I'm using some craft color chipboard and some scraps of black chipboard. My first cut is at 10 3/4 by 5 1/4. And I am going to double layer these. See how that fit? Nice. So I cut the black chipboard down to 3 inches tall because I'm not going to go for the full 5 inches in height because I didn't want to hide the handle or make it hard for me to grab it by the handle. So I went just underneath the bottom part of the handle. So I had 10 3/4 deep and then 5 1/4 for the shorter edges of the walls. So by doubling up, I mean I'm going to make the floor 2 chipboards thick as well as all of the edges, all 4 edges. And I'm going to use wet glue because when it dries, it tends to make the chipboard a lot more stiffer, and that's kind of what I'm looking for, is just a little bit more strength in it. So once I've got all of these pieces glued down, I'm going to just set them aside so that they dry a little bit. And then I'm going to go and grab some cardstock. I want something that's going to match the basket, so I'm going to pull out some really dark brown cardstock. And you guys don't know how excited I am at this point. Pulling out the paper, getting ready. So excited. And then I'm thinking. I'm drawing a complete blank. I cannot remember how to build a box. I am beside myself. And then I find Corinne's video, and then it's on. So I start cutting down my paper. I cut down some strips so that I can use for the edges, and then I get a 12 by 12 and cut it in half so that I can cover one side of the flooring of my chipboard. I do use a combination of double-sided adhesive, and then I use some liquid as well. Again, just for that strength. I really like how stiff it is. It just feels like it's a lot stronger. And I think I'm using some sewing glue or no-sew glue, something like that. I can't remember. And then my brayer to get it all nice and flat. I don't like those worms. Then you want to just score all the edges and trim it down so that you can make sure that the corners are all taken up. I did exactly what Corinne did, pretty much. It was pretty easy to do. You just want to make sure that you have the very corners of your cardstock tucked in really well so that the very corners don't show. But I do like to add, again, I'm adding some more liquid adhesive, and then, you know, the glue squeezes out a little bit. And I just use a bone folder to pinch down, or my nails, to pinch down the very corners. So I did both of the short edges first, and then I did the long edges afterwards. And it just leaves really nice nice finished look. Now with the other half of that 12 by 12, I cut it down just about 1/4 of an inch smaller than the chipboard piece, and I cover it. And I'm using here the Scotch glue tape and then the double-sided adhesive. And I don't know why I didn't put glue there, because I did with the other boxes. Again with the brayer, just to kind of press it all down, and I set that aside. So double-sided adhesive on some of the edges so that I can piggyback them and line them up. Now I do like to use AC cardstock. AC is American Crafts. This is textured cardstock, and I pretty much always use this particular kind because I don't like the flat with no texture. It doesn't look right to me. So I like the textured cardstock. So one of the differences is that Corinne did cover her chipboard walls once they were together, and what I did is I covered my one side of each of the chipboard to have that cardstock on it, so that when I lined them up on the strip, the inside was already covered. So that's what I'm doing here. And I don't do the folding over or anything with these. All I do is just cover the face of it, so no tucking or anything of any more cardstock. So once I have my strip ready, I'll grab a small edge and peel off the tape, put down some of the liquid glue, and then give it a good edge, anywhere from like 1/2 inch to almost a full inch. I would suggest that the part that's going to be holding onto the bottom of the box would be your inch and a half long. Then you can have the other edge that covers. You can see a difference here in my video, but with the other boxes, I found that it was a lot better to have a full inch to inch and a half for the flap that's going to be glued to the bottom of the box. And then the top edges are the shorter bits that fold over. If that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. So once they're glued down and it's dried, I do use a score tool and kind of run it down so it kind of gives it a little bit more flexibility. And I just mess with it a little bit so that it gets used to bending the way it's supposed to bend. Then I cut the notches in at every crease, and I cut the corners as well so that they're prepared. So one of the tips that Corinne had mentioned was to leave one short edge and one long edge open, which would be the longer ones that you would leave alone for when you're ready to glue them down to the bottom part of the box. Again, for me, that just makes better sense so that there's more stability. So what I'm folding there is just the top edge of the box. So I would suggest also to put your glue strip all the way around. I only did one edge. Yeah, I don't know why I did that. Because then I had to do it and add the glue once it was already halfway assembled. So that just didn't make sense. Just put glue all the way around. Just don't tack it all 4 down. So I'll just go ahead and take the strips off and then add the liquid glue. Just as I've been doing. And you still want to make sure you get those little corners of the cardstock to fit down into the chipboard so that your chipboard doesn't show. Now this takes a little bit because some of the liquid glue was oozing out, and so I had to hold it down a little bit longer. And I do have this eraser. It did not work for me. I don't know what I was doing wrong, but the adhesive was still showing. I just couldn't get it off. So I'm going to go ahead and just finish up the next 2 edges, and then we'll move on ahead. Using the brayer helps quite a bit to get everything evenly tacked down. I like using the brayer. And I'm just going to try and see how it fits. Here I'm using the bone folder again to kind of tuck those bits of the edges of the cardstock down to hide my chipboard. I'm going to use my little score thingy just to kind of help with the flexibility. I'm going to get it ready to close, but I just kind of want to check and see if the bottom part will fit or how it fits so that I can get my bearings and get the glue down and get that connected. I'm excited about these guys. It was fun. It was a fun little project. It's nothing fancy, but it was a storage idea and my solution to getting all of my dies nice and organized. So I've already glued the edge down, and now here I'm putting down the tape. This is why you want to put the tape down all together all at once. Makes it easier. I was like, what is wrong with you? Why didn't you just put it all together? It's okay. I'm still able to put it on. It just was a little bit more difficult is all. All right, now I'm going to set it down and add some of the liquid glue and take the strip off so I can get it tagged down. Now I tried to hold the long sides together so that there's no warping, and there wasn't that I can tell, so I think that worked okay. But this bottom, see the bottom flaps? I would have liked them to be a little longer. That's why for the other boxes, I did do those about 1 inch wide, just so that it holds on to more of the bottom and it's not gonna be showing or anything, so it was fine. And then you wanna tack down the bottoms there on the inside. And I'm like, look at this, let's see if it fits, let's see if it fits. So I tested it and I moved it around and it didn't slip out. So I think it's a nice snug fit. And I did show this earlier, but I'm just showing here when I transferred all of them over how nice I'm able to sift through them. I'm excited about it. Here's some pictures of the boxes after they're done. I did make 3 this day, and then on another day I did make 1 for my embossing folders. Now I'm just going to put them in the cabinet next to the dies, and I'm good to go. So here is my cabinet with all of my dies and my baskets with their liners in it. To me it looks super pretty and organized and neat, all nicely labeled. I really enjoyed the process of creating these boxes. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate you hanging out. Be sure to check out Corinne's Creations video down in the description box below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye everyone.